Hello guys and welcome back to United Rotics, and in today's video we're going to be previewing Manchester United's second game of the season against Fulham. Now we are all going to be happy against for the performance that we had against Arsenal in the first game of the season, though we didn't get the results we wanted. We ended up losing 1-0 due to a goalkeeping mistake by Altai Binder, but I think Manchester United really played well, and that is arguably Ruben Amorim's best performance as Manchester United's manager, because that was a really good game. The intensity was high, the pressing was really good. We played with a lot of aggression and physicality, and that was something that we missed a lot last season. And we also got to see our new signings like Mateus Cunha and Brian Mbuemo, and also of course Benjamin Sesko, who made their Manchester United debuts on Sunday, and their Old Trafford debuts, their home debut. Obviously, Mateus Cunha and Brian Mbuemo played really well, but our weakness was highlighted. So hopefully, fingers crossed, the ownership and people higher up in the hierarchy at United can look at that game and see that we actually need a goalkeeper. And if not for the goalkeeper mistake, we would have actually gotten more from the game. And then now, going on to the next point, people go on about the game and why did the goalkeeper make such a mistake? Why don't we have a better goalkeeper? And even though we had the best goalkeeper in the world, that wouldn't be a goal. And if that wasn't a goal, the game is going to end 0-0, 0-0, and that's not good enough for Man United. The main problem should be, why didn't we score? Because if you look back at the Europa League final, this was the same thing that happened. We conceded an early goal in the first half, a really early goal, but the players couldn't respond. Obviously, we had chances to score, but not we didn't have a really clear chance that you say this is a clear chance he has to score. We had chances. We had chances, but not a clear chance to score, and that should be the problem. That should be what Ruben Amorim and his team are going to focus on. Because even though we had the best goalkeeper in the world, we still wouldn't have won the game because we didn't score. We considered the goal early, but why shouldn't we have scored? If we scored and probably drew the game or won the game, people wouldn't be putting too much pressure on Alta Binder. And by the way, Alta Binder also played really well. I thought his distribution was absolutely class, and his distribution was actually better than Onana in a United shirt. He played some key risky passes, which yielded profit up front. You saw Mateus Cunha taking the ball deep from the midfield, driving the ball. You could see the positives there. Obviously, he needs confidence going into the game and stuff like that. With more game time, he's obviously going to build confidence. So I think that was a good game. Good distribution from the keeper, good passes all round, left foot, right foot, top class. Obviously, the error that he made in the corner let him down. So hopefully the recruitment team look at that game and see that we actually need a goalkeeper, and we shouldn't wait for our midfield problems to be exposed before we act in the transfer market and actually get what we need, which is a goalkeeper, a good goalkeeper and midfielder. So those are my thoughts on the Arsenal game. And now let's jump into the preview for Manchester United's game against Fulham, where we'll be traveling to Craven Cottage. And hopefully we're going to get 3 points because United fans are obviously optimistic because of the good performance we saw. So let's jump into the starting 11. So in goal, I would go with Altai Binder. Obviously, Altai had a good game. Like I said earlier, he had a good game against Arsenal. Had some really good passes, some really good handles, like from crosses and stuff, apart from obviously the goal he conceded. But that's obviously the negative. But apart from that, I think he actually had a decent game against Arsenal. And obviously, with confidence and more game time, he's obviously going to get better. And that doesn't mean we shouldn't go for a goalkeeper. But I prefer Altai to Onana at this point. And also, Altai had a full preseason and Onana didn't have a preseason. Though he's going to be fit for the game against Fulham, I still want to see Altai retain his spots in the goalkeeping position. Now let's go into the defense. I'll go with Lenny Yoro, obviously. Had a really good game against Arsenal. Bullied Gyökeres. He didn't do anything in the game against Arsenal, even though we lost. But yeah, we didn't get to see his signature celebration at Old Trafford because obviously we wanted him. But he chose Arsenal. But doesn't matter. Yeah, so it was a good performance from Lenny Yoro. Really young guy, but he's really good. So Lenny Yoro. The central centre back of it, the late. Had a really good game against Gyökeres, especially. He's the main guy that actually handled Gyökeres in a good way because obviously he's the central centre back. So he did really well in marking Gyökeres. Left-sided centre back, I would go with Luke Shaw again. Luke Shaw had a really good game against Arsenal. I didn't expect him to have such a good game against Arsenal. I was really impressed with his game against Arsenal. So hopefully he can stay fit and carry on with this form that he has. Right wing back, this is a really tough one to go with because obviously you can go with Diogo Dalot, you can go with Ahmad. But personally, I think Ruben is going to go with Diogo, but obviously if I'm picking the team, I would go with Ahmad Diallo. The reason why I'm picking Ahmad is because whenever we have Diogo Dalot, we have less of a goal threat on the right hand side. And we could see from last season that when Ahmad played on the right, he actually had more goal contributions in the right wing back position. So I would play him there. The only downside of playing Ahmad in the right wing back will obviously be defending players. Hopefully he doesn't get to mark Adama Traore because that's going to be a nightmare to see. But hopefully this actually works out because when Ruben was sporting, he actually played a winger in the same position. He played what's his name, Giovanni Quenda, who we actually wanted to get, but ended up in Chelsea. Yeah, he played him in this position. So hopefully Ahmad can play there and get used to that role. And hopefully in big games like when we face the likes of Arsenal, City, and Liverpool again, we can see a natural winger playing here. Because we actually need goals. We need goals in the game against Arsenal in the first game of the season. We didn't score. And putting Ahmad here will give us a higher chance of scoring than putting Diogo down here. And now we're going to the midfield. Obviously, Casemiro had a really good game against Arsenal. He had a good game against Arsenal. So I would start Casemiro again for this game against Fulham. Obviously, because they had a really bad game and he came off from the bench. So I would stick with Casemiro. Now, this season, obviously, Menu and Bruno are fighting for the number 8 position. And I think because there's no way Bruno is just going to be playing all the games. So the only way Menu is going to have game time is if he gets rotated sometimes. Maybe sometimes Bruno goes to the 10 and Menu gets to play in the 8th position because I think Menu has to play. But for this game, I think Bruno keeps his spot. But I think this game, Menu will be used from the bench. So Bruno, Fernandez. Now going into the left wing back position, I would go with Patrick Dogle. Had a really good game against Arsenal. Had a good game against Arsenal. So this is Patrick Dogle. Good game against Arsenal. Hopefully he can keep it up going on into the season because obviously he had a really good preseason, had a really good shots that hit the post against Arsenal. But hopefully he can keep going and keep improving because many people forget that he's just 20 years of age. He's still a young player. Has a lot of room to improve and get better. Now let's go into the 10th. The 10th, I would go with Brian Mbuemo or Mbuemo, Brian Mbuemo in the right side at 10. Really good player. Played really well, especially when Bruno passes those long balls for him to chase. Has really good first touch. Good at cutting in and shooting. So hopefully he can kick on from where he can start against Arsenal. Hopefully he can continue with those good runs, making good runs, getting the ball and so on, linking up with Konya in a good way. And the good thing about Brian Mbuemo and Mateus Konya is that they are so versatile. Like they can actually play in all the positions in the front line. And that's what obviously PSG did to win the Champions League. They had Doué, Kvaratskhelia, Dembele. That was a very fluid front three that each of them could play in different positions. And that's really good because it keeps the defenders thinking. They don't know who to mark. All the players are fluid. They can play in different positions. That was when Mount, Cunha, and Burmo played against Arsenal. Really fluid front line. We saw them switching positions. Maybe Cunha goes here, Mount goes here, Brian goes here. Just switching up. That confuses the defender, obviously. But for this game, I think we're actually going to go with a 9. Obviously, Mateus Cunha keeps his place. Obviously, it's going to be hard dropping Mason Mount, but obviously, he's an injury prone player. So obviously, you want to manage his minutes. Hopefully, keep him fit for other games in the future. And now going into the striker, I would go with Benjamin Sesko. That's how he said his name. So Benjamin Sesko. He's a really good player. Saw the game against Arsenal, saw some glimpses, some good touch. Yeah. So hopefully, this game against Fulham is a perfect game for us to smash them because we didn't score, played really well, lots of intensity. So hopefully, this game will be a game for Sesko to play really well, maybe score a goal, but if Skriniar continues good performance against Arsenal. And this is the team that I'm going to pick. Obviously, likes of Zexi are come back from injury. They can be used from the bench. Obviously, Rasmus being forced out of the door, stuff like that. Yeah, so we're going to have a really good team and a really strong bench. You have the likes of Aiden Heaven on the bench, Diego Leon, Fredrickson, Mount, Menu. So we're going to have a really strong bench, a really strong team, and that's really important in terms of pushing players to their marks so that they obviously try to be in the first team. So this is team, my team for the game against Fulham. Let me know what you all think in the comment sections down below. Like, comment, subscribe, turn the notification bell on so that you know when I'm going to upload new videos. Yeah, I'll talk down below. Thank you for watching United Vortex. Peace out.